Welcome to your Daily Revolution podcast. Today's topic, to the depressed and the discouraged. It's not over. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. My name is Setema, Gali, the founder and creator of the Prosperity Revolution, a global movement that helps you to get out of scarcity and into prosperity every single day. A movement where people have value, things do not, where money is a result of helping people, where you're rewarded for creating value for others, and where prosperity is not the result of luck, but a predictable steps and formulas, and where happiness is the ultimate goal. Grateful to have you here as part of the podcast, and this movement about prosperity. Right, where prosperity is not only possible, it's reality if you're willing to choose it. Grateful to be here with you today. If you've not listened to this before, I welcome you. And there are over 360 something episodes before this. So if you get a chance, go check it out on SoundCloud, YouTube, Spotify, Stitcher, and or iTunes. So let's jump into this podcast. First of all, I just want to say how grateful I am. I'm so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for where I am, because there's a number of instances where I wanted to quit and give up. Many, more than I can count on my two hands and my 2 feet. But I think about 10 years ago, I'm at the 10-year anniversary of leaving my home in Utah, our rented home. We had lost our home, and going to knock doors for 3 summers, which changed and altered my entire trajectory. Now, as I jump into the story, I want you to know, if you are discouraged right now, if you are depressed right now, and I get it, if you're even listening to this, it's a miracle, because when you're discouraged and depressed, and I have been there, the last thing you want to do is to listen to some dude online. The last thing you want to do is listen to somebody who's trying to tell you, hey, here's how to be more positive, and, look at it as a lesson, and look at it as, that's a lesson. You don't want to hear that. So I'm telling you right now, if you are listening to this and you are discouraged and depressed, you're an entrepreneur and things aren't going right, you're in a marriage that just, is headed towards divorce, you're single and you're upset and you're angry, you have children who are on a different path than you're hoping. Perhaps you're older in life and you feel alone. Whatever your circumstance and situation is, I'm telling you now, listen with an open mind and an open heart to the podcast. Because for many of you, you're like, this isn't for me. I'm good. I'm good. So great. I get it. But to the one out there, and I'm just talking to one, right? Just to the one, just hear me. 10 years ago, I was angry. I was angry at God. I was jealous of other people who were crushing business and life, because I was broke and struggling and miserable. This was in 2011. Miserable, upset. We lost everything in 2008. So all of 2008, all of 2009, all of 2010, into the first quarter of 2011 and the last quarter of 2007. It was a brutal time for us. For 4 years, nothing I did worked. Now, yes, I had my beautiful wife. I had a son at that time. We had our second son born in 2009, but I get what it's like. I know that feeling where you're like, nothing's working. It's like we're going down. I felt something similar in 2015, another financial catastrophe for us, where I split ways with someone I was working with and we had to start all over again here in Southern California. That was 6 years ago. And I couldn't sleep for 2 weeks. I was stressed to the hilt. I'm caffeinating up. I'm like, oh my gosh. And 3 years ago, so there's the pattern here, right? In 2018, same thing. I was late on my home 2 months in a row. I had to pay my cars. I'm trying to make a payroll, just trying to get there. And you can imagine that the thoughts that go through my head as a man with an organization and a family, and we're living here in South OC in 2015 and 2018. And so to those of you listening to this, I have been there. I know what it's like. I know what it's like to just not have any hope. I know what it's like to not want to move on. I know what it's like to just be like, dude, life would be better if I'm not even here. Again, I'm talking, there's a group of people out there who I'm hoping and praying that you get this podcast. So I've been there 10 years ago, 5 years ago, 3 years ago. And then I have like episodes here and there where it's just the challenges of life. So what do we do? Like, how do we do this here? I just want to share a simple message with you. It's not over. Like, it is not over until you say it is over. It is not over unless you just like literally stop and take your life. It's not over until you like decide like it's over. So what do? Like, number one, you keep moving forward. Now listen to this. You keep moving forward. Like, you can't give up. You gotta get up. You gotta go. And if you're working a job or you're in a business that you hate and you wish you had your time back, and like, nothing will change until you do something different. Nothing will change until you decide to do something other than what you're currently doing. So get up and keep moving. Number two, talk with somebody. A lot of the suffering and the stress that is taking place right now for you is happening because there are stories and thoughts and beliefs and feelings that you believe to be true that are not true, but because you're believing it inside of your mind, the mind is winning. The lizard brain is winning. You are losing. So when you start to talk to other people, and especially if they're a coach, a therapist, a good friend, like someone who's got their head on straight, it is no good to go talk to someone who's like, why would you feel? Come on, girl. Come on, dude. You got to go now. That conversation doesn't have, you've got to talk to someone who can ask the right questions to help you uncover the lies, the garbage that you're not seeing because you're in the middle of it. You're blind. So number one, just don't stop. Keep moving. Get up every day. Number two, go talk to someone. Get it out. The more you can get it out of your head, the more you can put it on the whiteboard, on a piece of paper, on the desk, the more you can just get it out of your head and have someone allow you to talk and to uncover and to discover, the more likely you are to move past what you're facing. And this is what's been useful for me. Many times I remember in 2018, I had a big payroll due, a good sized payroll, relatively speaking, right? For some, it's nothing. For me, it was a lot. I had a number of people whose livelihood, their home, their cars, the food on the table, gas in their cars, everything was on me and our organization. And I remember it was coming up and I'm like, oh my gosh. And I was stressing like, oh, I can't make the payroll. I can't make the pay. And it's like I was going to have this heart attack. And I was talking to one of my coaches and he's like, Setema, what does that mean that you can't make your payroll? Like you don't think you're going to be able to make it? What does that even mean? And I'm like, well, it's like, and I stumbled and I'm like, well, I mean, I can't help them pay it and then they're not going to pay their bills. And what are they going to think of me? And he said, okay. And he asked me probably half a dozen questions that kept helping me to get to the root of what was really going on. And the reality was I was adding story and made up meaning to a situation that didn't need it. Because after all the questions that he had asked, what does that mean? In my mind, I had made up this huge story, this massive, like this dragon in front of me that was going to slay me. And he's like, so what does that mean? And I was like, it means that I'm not going to make the payroll or I'll be a few days late. And he's like, okay, what does that mean? I'm like, nothing. He's like, yeah, it doesn't mean anything. And it was this like pivotal moment for me. I'm like, oh my gosh, like I've been making up all these stories. I've been stressing out because I have been making up stories. Let's go back to 10 years ago. It's a very similar situation. I'm angry. I'm pissed off because I was in my mid-30s. I thought I should have been a lot farther along than I was. I should not be here. And I saw guys younger than me making a lot of money and they were happy. Nothing I was doing was working. And if I could go back and coach myself back then, it would sound something like, so what does that mean, Setema? And I would have been like, I should be farther along. And he's like, should you really? What makes you say that? Because, and then I would have to make up more stuff. And when I look at the truth is things as they really are. The truth is I was where I was supposed to be because that's where I was. So go talk to someone. My goodness, talk to me. There's so many people out there that are hurting, but they can't come out and say it because it's just not right. Social media, you gotta show like your life is perfect, or you're Christian. You just gotta be grateful and show up to church and smile and, just put that smile on. And you could do that, or you could talk to a professional that can help you to see the error of your ways so that you don't have to suffer. Because listen, a lot of suffering is very optional. Now, I get it. If someone comes and punches you in the mouth, that's going to hurt. It's physical pain. But everything other than that a lot of it is self-imposed. Unconscious, but self-imposed. So that's the second thing, is go talk to someone. Who in your world right now could you just go tell the truth to? Like, just be honest and get it out and feel so good to be like, oh my gosh, I finally said it. Because when I finally said that thing that I said 10 years ago, I was like, and I told my wife that, she's like, why do you feel that way? And what came out of my mouth was so absurd. I was like, yeah, that's pretty silly of me. And I'm so grateful that I could talk to my wife about these things, but I didn't want to. Right, so number one, it ain't over. So just get up and keep moving. Number two, go talk to somebody. Number three, ready? Here we go. You've got to ask yourself, what do I really want? And if what you really want is, I don't know, that tells me that you are really in a place where you are unwilling to take control and responsibility for your life. Let me say that again, because you might not understand this. Whenever I ask people, what do you want? And they're stuck and struggling and they're stagnant, and they say something like, I don't know. I'm like, yes, you do. No, I don't. It's really, they know, but they don't want to say, for fear of what they might look like, for fear of what if they can't get it, for fear of they've been beaten up for so long, they don't even have any desire to believe. And I grew up reading the scripture that says, right, it's in one of the volumes of scripture that I read. It's called the Book of Mormon. And it says, there's this chapter in there, and there's this verse that says, even if ye can no more than desire to believe, even if just the tiniest belief, that's what I'm asking you. What do you want? I can answer that question almost all the time. What do you want? I want to be happy. I want to live comfortably. I want to have a greater relationship with my sons. I want to be connected to my wife and my kids. This morning, even though they're school, I took my sons to school, to one of our favorite spots. I took them to breakfast. I took them to Stacks. And I was like, I will be late to school. I don't even care. They're like, yeah, Dad. And we went and we talked and we just hung out. They were like 40 minutes late to school. But man, I felt like we needed that. I needed time with my boys. I'm about to jump on the road here in a few days and go to immersion. And I needed to be with my sons. And I've spent a lot of time with them. I'm going to be at a game. We got a game at 3:00 today. We got a game at 6:00 today. We had football last night. I know what I want. I'm going to take my wife on a date tomorrow night. I know what I want. I just got on the phone with one of my business. I know what I want. And there have been times in my life when the answer was like, I just don't want to feel this way. As long as you can just continue to answer the question, what do I want? What do I want? And declare it. Say it. Even if it's, I don't want this. Okay. I don't want what I currently have. Great answer. That's a great starting point. Now what? Ask yourself, because my friend, you got the power to alter your life. And I wish there were, at times I wish there was a magic wand, but I'm grateful that there's not. You know why? Because all of those tough, difficult moments, depressed moments, they forged me. It gave me hope that I could get something more than I currently had. It prepared me. It strengthened me. It strengthened my back. It strengthened my body. It strengthened my mind. It strengthened my heart. It gave me understanding of what people feel like. I know what it's like to be financially broke. I know what it's like to not be able to pay bills. I know what it's like to not be able to go to the store and buy the food you want to buy. I know what it's like to say, oh, I'm good. I'll catch up with you guys later when people want to go out to lunch because you ain't got the money. I know what it's like to look on social media and see the people who look like they're having so much fun, and you're just like, damn, what's wrong with me? You see, if I'd never had any adversity, how could I possibly know how to help my people? How could I possibly be able to relate to someone and connect with someone and reach out my arm and say, I've been there, let's go, grandma, let's go. So figure out what you want and keep asking those questions of what you want. And finally, right? And finally, the thing I want to share with you on this podcast as we close it out, if you're depressed and discouraged. Number 4, the sun will come up. I promise you that. One of my favorite books in Psalms in the Old Testament, right? Although weeping may endure for the night. Although weeping, although challenges, although hardships, right? Although tribulation, although you may feel depressed and discouraged, although your spouse might have left you, your kids have done you wrong, you've done everything right, and you're like, this is just not fair. Although all these things might have happened, the sun is going to come up, which means you got to get through that dark night, which means you can't quit and give up, which means you got to go talk to people, get it out. Which means you get to go answer the question, what do I really want for my life? You see, if you'll have that ray of hope, like when the clouds disperse and that light just breaks through, you're like, oh, thank you. You're not the only one, my friend. There are so many people going through challenges right now. There's such a spiritual warfare beating on people right now. That it takes a village to raise children. It also takes a village to become strong. So my friends, if this has been helpful, don't give up. Keep your head up. Keep moving forward. Go talk through this. Don't give up. Keep moving forward. Answer the question, what do you want? And say what it is that you want. Say specifically. Even if you have no idea how, just say it. This is what I want for my life. And know that the sun is going to come up. The darkness will disperse. The challenges will leave. If you will do the work. And 10 years later, 5 years later, 3 years later, here I am in SoCal. So blessed and so grateful. So happy. Still have challenges. But I'm so grateful for my life. I'm so grateful for my purpose, my mission, my calling as a coach, as a speaker, as an influencer, as a husband, as a father. I love how I live. I love it. I love making a difference. I love being a beacon of light. I love spreading a message of possibility, of hope, of prosperity, of abundance, of waking people up to the truth of who they really are and who they were born to be if they will choose it. And finally, choose ye this day. Choose ye this day, my friends. What you're going to do, choose. It's your choice. So to those who are depressed and discouraged, I invite you. Get up. Let's go do the work. And if I can help you even more, go check out my championshuddle.com. It is our monthly coaching. And I'll get on and I'll be one of those people that can just coach you and guide you and walk you through this discouragement and depression. Yeah, we can talk high-level business conversations and marketing and strategy and leadership and recruiting, but this podcast today was really for those of you who are just, it's hard right now. I get it. So don't give up. Keep your head up. I appreciate you listening to this, and have a great day, my friend.
This is your daily revolution. Living prosperity, we show you how to do it. There's no luck about it, we got the strategic blueprint. This is your daily revolution. You already know. And if you don't, then check my resume. Turning pressure into possibilities every day. We all can win and live our unique purpose. We change our mindsets and put the work in. This is your daily revolution. Daily revolution. Revolution. Your daily revolution podcast.